Morning update for Friday. Paul Lindman and Scott Lynn, good morning. Did you see those polls this week on the mayor's race? Long thought to be a runoff between Charlie Hales and Eileen, but now Jefferson Smith coming up, and maybe Eileen Brady and Charlie Hales should be paying closer attention to him. Let's take that up with a longtime political strategist in our town, Len Bergstein, not to mention beau vivant, raconteur, and man around town. Len asked me to say that.
What a setup. Good morning, Paul.
What's going on here, Len? Is it possible this thing is not going to turn out like a lot of people thought it would?
Well, I don't think it's very surprising that it's a close race with a high number of undecideds. After all, none of the candidates really are very well known in this electorate, and all of them have been struggling to kind of find their specific niche in a very large field. People are just starting to tune in, and so the elections they are going to be determined, I think, at the end here by their closing arguments, and you can see those in their TV and radio ads. Each one of them is appealing to a different personality in this race, and I can go through that if you want.
Well, what do you think would be the most compelling closing argument to most voters?
Well, I think that Eileen is saying I'm the most progressive one in the race, and that I'm the woman in the race, and that's going. If you look at the kind of electorate that turns out, often determines who wins the race. So if there are a lot of women in this voting block in this May election, then she's going to have a winning argument. Charlie says I'm the sure bet. If you're nervous about city government, go with someone who's experienced, and so older, more conservative, particularly men, will be appealed. He's appealing to them, and if they turn out to be a huge part of the voting bloc, then he gets into the runoff. And Jefferson, of course, is the anti-establishment candidate. He says, look, I've looked at this, and I'm not going to bend to special interest. And if you get that predominant demographic, then he's got a chance to be one of the last two that are standing in the runoff vote in the fall.
In the last televised debate, candidates focused on funding schools and creating jobs, pretty much avoided personal attacks. But since it's so close, do you think that could get ratcheted up a little bit here on TV and radio down the stretch?
I'm actually pretty surprised that they were as kind and gentle to each other as they were. I mean, throughout the whole campaign, they've all taken little snipes at them, and at each other. And I thought that they needed to get a little bit more focused in order to separate themselves. After all, it is a little bit like musical chairs. There's only two chairs for three major players, and so they have to kind of figure out a way to kind of separate themselves. It might get just a little bit more angry here in this next week, although I think they'll back off because mostly people feel that Oregonians, and particularly Portlanders, don't want an angry person running and winning the office.
Any chance at all someone will win it in the primary, Lynn?
I don't think so. I'd be surprised. 20 other voters, there's 20 folks to split up at least 10% of the vote. Let's just say there's lots of candidates, so 10% or 15% gets siphoned off into the other category, and then you're fighting over 85%. It's very difficult for one of these three who aren't very well known to the public to get 50% plus one.
I know you're not a betting man, but if you were, who would you put in the general election come November?
I'd have to go with what everybody's been saying so far, and that is that Charlie and Eileen look like they are appealing to that they're part of the demographic. Again, they're tied to the kind of voter who's going to show up. Now, Jefferson's support is amongst a group of people that, quite frankly, I don't know very much about, younger voters, folks who are anti-establishment. If he's able to marshal that group, then he can knock one of the two of them out.
Political strategist Len Bergstein. Len, thank you. We'll talk again, okay, friend?
You bet. Happy to be with you.